welcome back. I'm Michael Sandler, your host on Inspire Nation. If you've ever wondered how to find more peace while getting more done, then do we have the Stress Less, Accomplish More show for you. Today I'll be talking with Emily Fletcher, meditation teacher, founder of Ziva Meditation, and the author of a chock-full meditation-filled book, Stress Less, Accomplish More. And that's just what I want to talk with her about today, about how to use meditation for greater peace and extraordinary performance. That, plus we'll talk about national anthems and Walmart, Sunshine Roses and Liza Minnelli, Warren and Metro cards, hamburgers and chia seed smoothies, the lazy man's meditation, $2 glasses and Crate and Barrel, and what in the world bliss bunnies have to do with anything. Gotcha. So welcome to the show, Emily. Are you ready to shine?
I'm ready. I'm already shining. Thanks for that beautiful
Woohoo!
intro.
All right, so before we dive right into things, you really grew up in the hotbed of meditation, didn't you?
Yep, just nothing like the North Florida Panhandle to get you steeped in the esoteric world.
So you grew up there, you competed in a beauty contest, sang the national anthem at the Walmart Supercenter opening. What was your exposure to anything on a inner journey side of things growing up, if at all?
Well, I grew up Southern Baptist, so I would go to church every Sunday. My
Yep.
mom was a Sunday school teacher, and I loved church growing up. And so I had but to me, at least from my experience with church, it was always a looking upward and outward.
Mhm.
And with meditation, I find that it's more looking inward and going down. And I don't think that they're, in any way in conflict with each other. But I love that old adage of prayer is talking to God and meditation is listening. And so I did grow up Southern Baptist, but I remember at 5 years old, I went to my mom and I said, "Mom, how do we know we're Baptist?" And she said, "What?" I'm 5. And she was
Wow.
like, I said, "Well, my mom's best friend was Buddhist." And I was like, "Well, Reen's Buddhist." And so, like, was she born Buddhist? Were we born Baptist? Did we choose to be it? Like, I just didn't
Wow.
understand how the assigning mechanism happened. And so I asked her if I could go to other like congregations. So she let me go to a temple. She let me go to like a Church of Latter-day Saints. There was not a huge variety in Tallahassee, Florida, but she let me go to everything that was there. And so I think I've always had that natural curiosity of just like, what's the same and what's different.
Very, very cool. So if we fast forward from then, actually we'll go from 5 to 9, and you had a little bit of a dream planted in you. What was that dream? How did it come about? And what did it lead to?
Yeah, so I remember I was 9 years old. I was reading the newspaper on the floor of my mom's bathroom. She was in the shower, and I saw an ad for this place called Young Actors Theater. And I pointed to the ad and I looked at my mom in the shower and said, "Oh, Mom, I'm going to need to go here. I'm going to be an actress." And I just knew, like, I knew with everything in me that I was going to be an actress. And then a couple years later, we went to New York and I saw my first Broadway show.
Yeah.
And I was like, "Oh, this is where I'll live. This is what I'll do." And then cut to 22 years old, I moved to New York and I got my first Broadway show. And I did that for 10 years, which was amazing.
So awesome. And along the way, meditation came about, perhaps out of necessity. 27, a chorus line. What's going on?
Yeah, so I was understudying 3 of the lead roles, which
Yep.
means you show up to the theater with no idea which character you're going to play. And sometimes they would switch me from one character to another. Sometimes I would just
Wow.
be chilling in my dressing room and they would get on a loudspeaker and say, "Emily Fletcher, we need you on stage." And I would start panicking. And anyway, that led to a lot of anxiety. That anxiety led to insomnia. I couldn't sleep through the night for 18 months. I started going gray at 27. I started getting sick and injured. And what I thought was going to be my dream, because I very much thought that once I got on Broadway, I would be happy, it turned into something of a nightmare. I was like rocking myself in fetal position, listening to Eckhart Tolle on repeat, and just not enjoying my life. And then this woman sitting next to me in the dressing room, who had a harder job than I did, but she was nailing it. And I said, "What's your secret?" And she said, "I meditate." And I rolled my eyes and didn't believe her, because this was 11 years ago. And finally, I just thought, well, I don't want to suck at my job anymore. I'm embarrassed about my performance. And so I went along to this intro to meditation talk. I liked what I heard. On the first day of my first course, I was meditating. I didn't know what that meant, but I was in a different state of consciousness than I had ever been in before, and I liked it. That night, I slept through the night for the first time in 18 months, and I have every night since. That was 11 years ago. I stopped going gray. I'm going to be 40 next week. I have like one
Oh,
gray
so
hair.
cool.
I was legitimately going gray in my 20s. I did not get sick for 8.5 years. I stopped getting injured, but most importantly, I started enjoying my job again. And that's, I think, why I've gone this performance route with meditation. It's like it's a tool that's going to make you better at your life, but you're also going to enjoy your job and your life so much more.
Well, you're also I don't equate a difference between acting, dancing, and sport. So to me, you're a
Mm,
high performance athlete.
mhm.
And so you were grooving on the high performance element. How can I improve my game? How can I help others to improve their game? By diving deep on the inside.
Yes,
And
beautifully said.
so going from there, was it about 4 or 5 years later that you said, that's it, I've got to dive in, let's go meditation the whole 9 yards? How did that work out?
So it's an interesting story. So I learned to meditate on the 4 days that I had off in between doing a chorus line on Broadway.
Mhm.
And then I was about to start doing the chorus line first national tour. And I literally had 4 days off. The course was 4 days. So I learned to meditate. And I mean, it cured my insomnia. It was just like, it felt miraculous, the changes that were happening. I since know it's not a miracle. It's not magic. It's a return on investment. But anyway, our second city on the tour was Los Angeles.
Yeah.
And I knew there was a lot of meditation teachers in Los Angeles because, it's a hotbed of meditation. So I started doing some research and looking for group meditations. And I found someone, and he said, yeah, we're doing group meditation on Wednesday. And I said, okay. I show up, it's just him and his girlfriend. And I was like, well, this is not the group meditation I was really interested in.
Mhm.
But I was like, they didn't seem dangerous. So I stayed and I closed my eyes. And after we finished meditating, I opened up my eyes and there's this beautiful photograph of like a bridge with this light at the end of the tunnel, or light at the end of the bridge. And I said, what is that? And he said, it's Rishikesh. And I said, what's a Rishikesh? And he said, that's a town in India where we have this retreat. Are you coming? And I was like, no. And I looked at the photo and I looked back at him and I said, yeah, I'm going to go. And cut to 6 months later, I'm in India. It's now, I've just turned 30, and we would meditate every morning at dawn on the Ganges, on the banks of the Ganges.
Yeah.
And so we had to cross this bridge. And so this one morning I stop and I look up and it's the exact frame from that exact photo. And the sun is rising on the other side of the bridge. And I stopped in my tracks and I started sobbing, crying. And I knew that the me in that moment had gone back to the me in Los Angeles and said, you have to come to India. You have to become a teacher. So it was in India that I decided that I wanted to teach. And to be honest, I thought it would be way later. I was like, oh, well, when I'm finished dancing, when I'm finished acting, it'll be like in, my 50s or 60s. And then I moved to LA to pursue what I thought was to pursue TV and film.
Mhm.
And then my second day there, I ran into one of my teachers from India. And long story short, I started my teacher training and here we are.
Woohoo!
Yeah.
All right, and I love how those synchronicities come together. And geez, to see the picture and then realize that you're looking at what was the picture that you were looking at before, and how that twists and folds inside of itself is so, so cool.
Yeah, it was like those moments in time where time just folds in on itself, and it's like a little high five from the universe.
Yeah.
It felt good.
So let's go from there. Let's talk about some of the benefits of meditation. Then I want to dive into your method of meditation. First off, what do you tell people when they say, because you said this before you went to your first class, I believe, I can't meditate?
Yeah. So I think most people think they can't meditate because they're judging themselves based on misinformation.
Mhm.
I think people are getting confused between the terms mindfulness and meditation. And it's why I spent so much time in the book really clarifying the difference between the two. I would define mindfulness as the art of bringing your awareness into the present moment, which is very good at dealing with your stress in the now, which is very different from the type of meditation that I teach at Ziva, which is all about getting rid of your stress from the past. And it ultimately is the eradication of that backlog of stresses in our nervous system that's ushering us into higher cognitive and performance capabilities. But I think most people say they can't meditate for two reasons. One, they either think that they're too busy, or two, they think that they can't do it because they can't clear their minds. And this is really, really important that we just like proselytize this and evangelize this one piece of information is that the mind thinks involuntarily, just like the heart beats involuntarily. So trying to give your brain a command to shut up is as impactful as trying to give your heart a command to stop beating. It does not work. And yet, this is the criteria by which most people are judging themselves. And this is why most people feel like meditation failures. This is why most of the world starts meditation and quits, Like I just gave a talk today at Morgan Stanley, at this like massive financial firm in New York, and I said, "How many of you guys have tried meditation?" And it's 2019 in New York City, so like 99% of the hands go up. Everyone's tried it, and I say, "Okay, how many of you guys have a daily practice?" 99% of the hands went down. There was literally one person in the room who had a daily practice. And that is why I spent the last 3 years working on this book, to bridge that gap. Because at this point, we know we should be meditating. No one's effing meditating because they sit down and they're like, "Okay, brain, shut up. Sure would like a snack. Snacks are delicious. I suck at meditation. I quit." And that's the beginning and the end of most people's meditation career.
So let's go from there. Let's talk about lazy man's meditation. My favorite, greatest maybe meditation teacher was a gentleman on Maui. He bounced back and forth between Canada and Maui. He had studied in India as well. He had us sit in Tommy Bahama lounge chairs. And our meditation was as simple as this.
Great.
That was it. And dropping into that was so easy. Yes, it took a few minutes to get in, and I love your technique for getting us there, but it was so powerful just dropping in. So what's lazy man's meditation?
Yeah. So I think a lot of people assume that meditation has to be hard because they think it requires discipline or focus or fancy fingers or erect spines or uncomfortable postures. And there are certain styles of meditation that do require different types of effort or discipline, and that's fine. I'm not trying to diss on those. I think that everything has their place, and I think that ultimately all roads lead to Rome. But I think that most of what we're trying to adapt in the West are oftentimes derivations of things that were originally made for monks. And so if you're not a monk and you're trying to do a monastic meditation, it's always going to feel hard. It's going to require discipline and effort. Whereas the lazy man's meditation was designed for people with busy minds and busy lives. It's designed to be integrated into your life. It's designed to make you better at life. And so the meditation, so Ziva, we teach the trifecta of mindfulness, meditation, and manifesting.
Three
I really
M's.
through the three M's, yes. And I do think that they all have their place. Again, mindfulness to deal with your stress in the now, meditation to get rid of your stress from the past, and manifesting to help with your dreams for the future. But the meditation portion of Ziva is adapted from something called Nishkam Karma Yoga, which means union attained by action hardly taken. Lazy man's meditation. And so in this practice, we use something called a mantra, which a mantra is a little bit, that word has also been hijacked by the wellness industry. A lot of people think that a mantra means an affirmation, like, "I deserve abundance," or "I'm a strong, angry woman." And those are great. Like, affirmations are awesome. I use them when I work out, but they're quite different than the way that we use mantras, which is a Sanskrit word. Man means mind, trat means vehicle. So a mantra is a mind vehicle custom designed to de-excite the nervous system. And when we use them, it's why that just sitting in a Tommy Bahama chair would allow you to just kind of like drop in. It's like the mantra does the work for you. The mantra allows, it helps the brain to go from these active layers of left brain thinking and settle down into more subtle layers of right brain being. It is the mantra that helps to de-excite the nervous system, which is ultimately what is cleansing the body from that backlog of stress.
Beautiful. When I meditate, I'm picturing a wheel of breath going through me. Or excuse me, when I meditate. When I interview, I picture a wheel of breath, and I'm saying a mantra, not to focus on the mantra, but to drop it all to hear you more clearly. I send love. I send love. And so the entire time, this little bit under an hour, I'm saying a mantra and dropping in so that I can be as focused with you as I can. Nothing before, nothing after.
Oh, beautiful. I love that.
Thank you. So then something else we would both love. What's the fourth state of consciousness?
So in the book, we write about something called Turiya, or the fourth. So Turiya is a Sanskrit word, which means fourth. And most of us are very familiar with three states of consciousness: waking, sleeping, and dreaming. And that's what most people are on, a bit of a rat wheel: waking, sleeping, dreaming, waking, sleeping, dreaming. And, we might touch this other state of consciousness, like in the middle of a football game, or in the middle of sex, or if you take some acid or some ecstasy or ayahuasca or mushrooms. There's ways to chemically alter your state of consciousness, and there's ways to access it on the acupuncture table, or in the middle of really intense things. That you can access that flow state where right and left hemispheres of the brain are functioning in unison. But for most of us, it either requires chemicals or some sort of like a high intensity like sports situation or sex, and those all are great. Like again, I'm not dissing on any of those things, not even the chemicals, right? Because I think the devil's in the dose. And there are, now they're starting to incorporate psilocybin and MDMA in sort of rehabilitative therapy. And so for me, it's never about a doctrine or good or bad or right or wrong. It's just knowing what tool to use for what use case, and knowing what the return on investment is, and what the opportunity cost is of everything. Because let's not assume, or let's not presume, that we could drink coffee and not have to pay a price for that, that we could drink alcohol and not have to pay a price for that we could do ecstasy and not have to pay a price for that. So, it's just always about what tool for what use case. So anyway, in this type of meditation, and I'm speaking specifically of the meditation portion of the Ziva technique, what we're doing is we're starting to cultivate and curate this fourth state of consciousness where the right and left hemispheres are functioning in unison, and you start to strengthen something called the corpus callosum,
Yes.
which is that thin white strip that connects the right and left hemispheres of the brain. And we've known for a long time that meditators have thicker corpus callosums than non-meditators, but we weren't able to prove if it was causal or correlated.
You talk about, a study at UCLA.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so now we know that like the longer you meditate, the thicker your corpus callosum becomes, which I think is a cool party trick. But why would you want a fat corpus callosum? And I think everyone should, because it's quite literally the bridge between your critical mind and your creative mind. It's the bridge between your masculine and your feminine. It's the bridge between the past and future and present moment. And so when we start to take the right brain to the gym in meditation, yes, that's nice for the sitting, but in and of itself, that's not that valuable. But what is very valuable is that right brain awareness, that brain cohesion, that neuroplasticity, that strengthening of the corpus callosum, that stays with you even after the meditation. That starts to bleed into your waking state. It starts to permeate your life, your relationships, your family life, your relationship with your coworkers, how you are in traffic, your decision-making abilities, insomnia, immune function. Like it starts to bleed into all of these other areas of life.
Beautiful. We may touch on those just a little bit briefly or here in a moment. Before we do that, this is something that gets a lot of people in, I'll put it in quotes, trouble, because there's nothing really good or bad. It's what we label it. But the meditation shame spiral.
Yeah. So the meditation shame spiral, it looks one of two ways. One, you either try to start and feel like a failure because you can't clear your mind, right? Like, okay, so I want to meditate. I know the science is in, but I just suck at it. I'm special. My thoughts are special. My stress is special. I can't do that. So now I feel guilty about never even starting. That's one version of the meditation shame spiral. The other one is that we start, we actually like do a practice, we invest in a training, and we start meditating, and life gets better, and sleep does get better, and we start to step into our power, and we start to feel a little less stressed. And then we get a little scared. We humans, we start to get terrified of just how powerful we are, and just how much creative control we have over our lives, because we think it's easier to play the victim. It's a little less daunting to assume, well, my life is happening to me. I'm a victim of my circumstances. I want to change it, but I can't. I just have daddy issues. That's just who I am. My dad just left when I was 5. Or I can't go to the gym because I just have willpower issues. And it's easier to play small if we assume victim status, and meditation won't allow you to do that. Because you start to wake up your own internal divinity. You start to wake up that right brain creativity. You start to see that you're actually a vessel for nature to use you. So that's one way. It's like we get scared of the bigness and of just how powerful we are, so we step back, which is resistance, right? That's our fear of our greatness. The other shame spiral thing that happens for folks is that they start meditating. And specifically with Ziva, it's a pretty powerful type of meditation. And so it can create a pretty intense, what I call stress release. It can create like a detoxification. And when that lifetime of sadness and rage and anger and irritability starts to come up and out, it's like nobody wants to feel that. Nobody wants to be tired. Nobody wants to be sad. There's billions of dollars of industry built on top of ensuring that we never have to feel a feeling. If you're sad, have a pill. If you're angry, have a cookie. If you're lonely, have some Facebook. If you feel fat, have some Spanx. Don't feel. And so the meditation makes the feeling non-negotiable. It wrings you out. And so oftentimes we've not been equipped to process that catharsis, or to process that detoxification. And that's when a lot of people quit as well. And that is actually why I developed the Ziva technique, because for the first 6 years of my career, I was just teaching meditation. And I just started noticing that the world is filled with more ex-meditators than I would like. So many people try and quit. And it was mind boggling to me. I was like, why, how could you get the keys to the kingdom and then put them down? Like, this is the thing you've been looking for, that happiness that you think is going to come on the other side of $1 million, that fulfillment that you think is going to come on the other side of a relationship. It ain't coming there. It's always found right here, right now. And meditation is the key that unlocks that. Why would you put this down? And I started digging deeper and asking folks. And what I realized is that oftentimes they didn't know or expect or have the tools to handle that purging process when it came. And so that's why that's one of the ways we use the mindfulness, is to help people just sit in and feel and process those feelings if they come up and out.
Beautiful. I want to address that in just 1 minute. We were talking before the show, and I call what you were talking about, I call it a spiritual detox. We were talking briefly about my wife's miscarriage before the show. And you were saying to lean in, or I have a term, I kind of stole it from Ram Dass, to snuggle up with the discomfort. Be as present with the discomfort as you can.
Yes, and I also had a miscarriage, I guess maybe 1.5 years ago or something now, and it's intense. You know, it's like, even though it's early, if it's early on, it's still like there's a hormonal change, and everything is perfect in its potential. You know, that's why like a breakup at the beginning of the relationship is even more heartbreaking than a divorce after 20 years sometimes, because after 20 years, it's real and it's flawed and it's, you know, human, versus even dating someone for 3 weeks. What you're really breaking up with is your fantasy. And I think that with a miscarriage, it's pure potential. It's pure perfect potential that you're mourning the loss of. And you've got the hormonal changes, I think, for men and for women, that are changing, certainly more pronounced for the person gestating. But anyway, for me, I found that meditation allowed me to just sit in it, just feel it fully, to be sad, to mourn, and then to move through to the new now. And I don't know that I would have been able to do that without a decade of meditation under my belt.
Thank you for sharing. And so let's dive into the meditation. Let's talk about the Z technique. When do we want to meditate?
So I recommend, like, optimal times are in the morning before coffee, breakfast, and computer. And then it's anywhere like mid-afternoon, like before your dinner. And now that would be like after you have a tool, after you have a technique, after you have some training. I was just at this conference today, and this woman came up to me and she was like, well, now when should I be meditating? Because someone said twice a day, in the morning and then at work. And if you don't have any training, and if you don't yet have a visceral experience of how more productive you are, and how much more clear your thinking is, and just how much sharper life comes into focus, then the idea of taking time out of your busy schedule to just sit there feels like inconceivable. So I really recommend that if people don't have any training, like, do 0 minutes of meditation. Really true. Like, you could do an app, you could do a guided thing on your phone, you could do some breath work, but I'm calling that mindfulness. But trying to just sit with no training is always going to feel like torture and like you're failing. But once you have some training, then optimal times would be before breakfast, coffee, computer. And then whenever you would have had that chocolate or that nap, or you start making mistakes, it's like steal away, go to your car, go to a stairwell, go to a hotel lobby, you know, close your eyes. And we only do 15 minutes. And what I teach in the book is 15 minutes. And then in my in-person trainings, it's 20.
Very cool. So let's dive into the 3 M's here. Specifically, let's talk about mindfulness and the 5 senses to begin.
So we use a tool called Come to Your Senses. That's the version of mindfulness that I teach. It's super simple, but also very powerful, where you're basically just utilizing your 5 senses as a tool to bring yourself into the right brain, into the right now. Because the thing is, our stress hangs out in the past and the future. Our bliss hangs out right here, right now. And so we're utilizing our 5 senses as a tool to get into our body. And it's a way to move towards the positive instead of away from the negative. A lot of people are like, don't think about your taxes. Don't think about your ex-boyfriend. Don't think about work. But the brain doesn't understand a negating form. Like, the universe doesn't understand negation. It's just like taxes, ex-boyfriend, work. Like that's all it's hearing. So instead of moving away from the stress, we instead move towards our five senses. We move towards the present moment.
So you would say, for instance, I'm feeling my butt on the chair. I'm feeling
Mhm.
the air coming into my nose. What is that I'm smelling right now, for instance?
Exactly. Yep. Super simple.
So going from there, take us to the second M,
Mhm.
meditation.
Yes. So the meditation is different likely than what most people think of when they think of meditation,
Mhm.
right? It doesn't require discipline or focusing or clearing your mind or concentrating or it's really like you said, it's much more like your Tommy Bahama chair. Like you're just sitting there, back supported, head free. You know, you might get a little weeble wobbly, your head might start to fall. Like this is great posture for us at Ziva. It does not look great on Instagram, but it
Yeah.
feels amazing. Um, and it's really all about effortlessness. It's all about surrender. It's all about inducing deep healing rest. We're utilizing that mantra as a tool to de excite the nervous system, to create order. And when you create order in the body, that's what allows that lifetime of accumulated stresses to start to come up and out. It is sort of paradoxically that deep healing rest that induces that spiritual catharsis, as you said, or what do you call it? Emotional detox?
Spiritual detox.
Spiritual detox. Yeah. And it's all about effortlessness. And interestingly, in mindfulness versus meditation, in mindfulness where you're directing your focus, so anytime someone's guiding you through something, I'm putting that in the category of mindfulness. And in that, a small part of the brain lights up, but very, very bright, which is different than in this type of meditation where the whole brain lights up, but not as bright. And I think it's cool that we're living in a day and age where science can prove not only that meditation is good for us, but how different types of meditation are impacting the brain differently.
Now, when I think about it in your technique specifically, you're using the mindfulness as a tugboat to take you into the deeper waters, then detach, let go, let be in the depth, in the deepness now.
Yeah, I love that. I've never thought of it as a tugboat. I've always called it like the appetizer to the
Mhm.
main course of meditation, but a tugboat is great because a lot of times, like if you're, most of us with busy minds and busy lives, high achievers, we're like floundering in our days. You know, we're
Yeah.
working hard, playing hard, go, 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 90 miles an hour. And then to go from this to like, to just dropping down to the bottom of the ocean is sometimes a little scary or a little too abrupt. And another reason I was hearing that people were quitting is that it was too challenging for them to stop the momentum of their day and just get their buns in the chair. And that's another way that we use mindfulness is that because it's more active, it gives you a transition point between the waking state and the meditation state.
Beautiful, beautiful. So I want to get into the mantra here in a second, but since we're going with this ocean analogy right now, what are the meditation bends and why don't we want to use a clock?
Yeah. So this is why if you're practicing specifically meditation, now for mindfulness, it's fine to use an app or an alarm or whatever. And I get that like every day there's like 1,000 new meditation apps that come on the market, and most of them are timers. Which for me, it's like, do you really want to be tethered to your phone during your meditation practice? Like these things are designed to be addictive. You know, it's a little secret about meditation apps is that they make money off of your eyeballs being on them. And so it's like, and that's one of the things that makes Ziva unique is that it's training you to be self-sufficient.
Mhm.
It's like we're giving you the keys to the car and the driving instructions so that you don't need me or an app or a timer or a gong or a fingers symbols or incense or a dude playing drums on your chest in order to meditate. So you just sit down and close your eyes.
Mhm.
But you don't want to set an alarm specifically for this type of meditation because you're going in and de-exciting the nervous system, and then if it's like mer, 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 like that alarm will rip you up arbitrarily from
It
the
hurts.
depths into the waking state, and it's too shocking to your brain and your optic nerve. But the brain and the optic nerve don't have pain receptors, so they can't tell you that they're hurting in the moment. The way that they tell you is about 30 minutes later you start having headaches and irritability, and that's what we call the meditation bends.
Thank you. So if we go to a mantra now, and I know if people come and work with you, they get more of a specific mantra, but
Mhm.
but what's a very basic mantra we can use to help us drop into that deepness?
Yeah, so the mantra that I give in the book is simply the word one. And it's so simple, but this was actually based on some neuroscience research done in the 70s by Dr. Herbert Benson. and they were studying meditation, and they were studying different types of mantras, and they found that even using the word one, as simple as it is, as universal as it is, was still providing some benefits, was still allowing people to de-excite the nervous system, and it was still, you're able to use it as an anchor. Now, one thing that I like to clarify for folks is that, there's basically now 3 ways that you can learn with me. And one is through the book, where I give this universal mantra. The other way is through Ziva Online, which is our 15-day online training. And those mantras are a little bit more powerful. They are a little bit, it's like they act as like an anchor. It's like just pulls you down a little bit more intensely and can create a little bit more of that detox. And then obviously when you learn face to face, it's like, I like to call it like the Maserati of meditations, because if I'm working with you face to face, I know that I can help you through that detox process. So I've made each program, like I made the online course gentler than in person by design. The book is gentler than the online course by design, based on the level of support and follow-up and community that you're going to have going through that experience. Because the thing is, with online courses and with books, you can't ensure that people are going to finish. You can't ensure that people are going to commit. You don't know if someone has access to therapy, if they're dealing with trauma, anxiety, suicidal thoughts, PTSD. And the reality is, like, we're living in a pretty stressed day and age right now. And so I wanted to make sure that I wasn't giving a toddler the keys to a Maserati.
Very cool, or in my case, a Tesla. We'll make it an
Yes.
electric version.
Yes.
So I like that when you talk about the word one, it just occurred to me, one so simple, and I'm going one, I'm thinking oneness and one is 3 letters and it's O-N-E. It's very similar to O-M, Om.
Yeah.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
And I made a connection there. And so I think with using the word one, you're putting yourself into that Om state.
Yes, that oneness, that state. And Om is another example of a mantra, and that's probably the most famous mantra. If you ask even a 5-year-old, like, what's meditation? They'll do fancy fingers and they'll go, Om. That's what we think it is. And, and that's fine too, but Om is a monastic mantra. And so if you're a householder and you start chanting or using Om like day in and day out, like doing it a few times in a yoga class, no problem. But if you do it day in and day out, you may start to highlight more monastic qualities in yourself. You might find yourself like giving away the car keys and here's the deed to my house and take the shirt off my back, which, if that's cool too. It's just, if you're not a monk and you have kids, like maybe you want to pay for their college, or maybe they need a house. Yeah.
And that gets us to our third M,
Yes.
manifesting.
Yeah. So manifesting is like the dessert course of the Ziva technique, and it's simply consciously creating a life you love. It's you getting intentional about what you want your life to look like. And that is simple, but not that many people are doing it. People are asking questions like, what should I do? What's going to make me the most money? What's going to look good on Instagram? What's going to get me more followers? Instead of asking the question, what do I want to do? And that's a powerful shift, right? Like, what do I want to create? What book do I want to write? What company do I want to start? How do I want to contribute? And where this is a little advanced is that if you don't have a daily meditation practice, sometimes it's very hard to hear that whisper of intuition. Sometimes it's very hard to hear that whisper of creativity over the screaming of the critical mind of I suck, I'm going to die alone with cats eating my face. Like, that thing is pretty pronounced for most of us.
Yeah.
And so with the meditation, it's not that we're shutting the brain up. It's not that we're turning off the left brain, but we are quieting that critical voice a bit, because we're not constantly in fight or flight. And then we're turning up the volume on the intuition, because we're taking that right brain present moment awareness to the gym. And in my experience, the fear never goes away, but you do start to get to like 50-50. So you can choose which one of those voices you want to listen to. And so for the manifesting, we're basically asking the question, what's one goal that I want to create? And then I walk people through an exercise where they imagine the dream as if it's happening now. And what I found is that the combination of manifesting and meditation is so much more powerful than either one alone. And using that sacred time at the end of the meditation is, it's allowing you to kind of dance in between the left brain and right brain. And yeah, and what I've noticed in my students is that just using both together is it's better than doing either one alone.
Yeah, and it's something I call the liminal state, or it's a hypnagogic state. You have a word, I'm not coming to it right now. Another word that you talk about when you're talking about Einstein and others who use
Hmm.
this dream state as well. So you're in, we'll use a technical term, a theta brainwave state here. It's
Yeah.
a state of creativity where anything is possible.
Yes, exactly. Where because when you're in that state, you're not limited by time or space and or how. It's just infinite possibility. And so like a lot of my manifesting work, I was inspired by Neville Goddard,
Oh yeah.
who wrote Feeling is the Secret back in like 1943, and he would always recommend manifesting as you're falling into sleep, and because we're dancing right in between those different states of consciousness, so it's a more powerful time to do that. And the cool thing about meditation is that now you're tripling your opportunities for manifesting, because you're dancing in between those states of consciousness 3 times a day instead of just as you fall into sleep.
I love that. I call it alchemy. It's working on the other side of the veil. You're part here, you're part there. And it really is as above, so below. The more you can work on that upper state, the more it comes about here.
Yes, yes. And I just think it's way faster because a lot of us, if all we have access to is our left brain waking state, it's like we're just this tiny little wave on the ocean that is collective consciousness. But when you start to utilize these tools, and specifically with the mantra, it's like you de excite the nervous system. That wave reminds itself that it is also the ocean. And to set an intention from that oceanic right brain collective state of consciousness is infinitely more powerful than trying to do it alone as just that little wave. And that's what my students report is just the gap between their desires and their desires becoming manifest gets shorter and shorter.
Woohoo!
Mhm.
What would you say are top 3 tips you give people to stress less, accomplish more?
Mm. Well, I mean, it's not a tip, but it is like the missive of the book, which is start a daily practice.
Yeah.
Like, you're not too busy to meditate. Just no, you're not. Like, the world's top performers are not meditating because they have copious amounts of extra time. They're doing it because they know it allows them to perform at the top of their game. So that's, I guess, the very top tip.
And
The
you'd make that
other
non-negotiable, wouldn't you?
Yes, absolutely. I mean, I have a 9-month-old son, and I just did this book launch. Like I'm in a arguably like busy time of life, and I have been militant about my daily practice. Like I've doubled down on it. Now that's not to say like, and I will be honest, like in my postpartum, like a month after I had the baby, I didn't meditate at all. And there was I had a string of physical complications, and I wasn't sleeping, and I won't bore your listeners with all of the stuff, but it was like if I had 20 minutes, like I would fall asleep. Like my
Yeah.
body was just, there was no, that was non negotiable. Like I wanted to meditate, I couldn't.
Yeah.
And that was okay. It's never about having a perfect career as a meditator. But as soon as I started sleeping more and I started having a bit of time to myself, like then I started back on once a day. And then when I started back to work, I started back to the twice a day. So it's not like you're going to do it 20 minutes twice a day, every single day for the rest of your life. You're going to miss sometimes, and you're going to go on vacation, and people will die, and there will be times that you don't meditate, and that's okay. It's like you've been putting deposits in your bank account so that you can make withdrawals in those high demand times. So yeah, so top tip there. There's also some really practical stuff in there that has nothing to do really with meditation, but like in the immune boosting chapter, I give some Ayurvedic recipes for helping to boost your immune system. And one of them that no one really knows about, which I think is awesome, is black pepper tea.
I
So
was shocked by this one to actually generate a fever in yourself. I don't get colds or anything because I go pepper crazy. The hotter the stuff, the better, for the same purpose, without realizing what a cool what a cool technique you have.
yeah, so you put lots and lots of pepper on your stuff if you feel like you're coming down
Oh,
with something.
I learned this. I was in MBA school way too many years ago, and I was at Chipotle getting a cold. And I was like, when I put this green whatever sauce on it, I feel kind of a fire come over me. My nose starts to run, and I bet that's actually burning this stuff off. And it was.
Yeah,
For
that's so cool. And same with like oregano oil. So, but with black pepper specifically, it's actually an endocannabinoid.
Yeah.
So it's funny that it's not regulated like cannabis is, but it has some of the same healing properties, and it's just like free. We have it all in our kitchens. So basically, you just take like organic black pepper grinder, grind like 6 or 7 grinds into some hot water, and let the grind steep to the or settle to the bottom, and then drink the water. And you want to do that every 2 or 3 hours. If you want to get really woo woo, you can like chant some healing things while you're doing it, which I am wont to do from time to time. But then you just drink that tea every 2 or 3 hours and then do an extra meditation. And that is usually enough to stave off just like the common cold. I also will use oregano oil. So similar to that pepper sauce,
Yeah.
oregano oil is very hot and it burns. It's like a natural antiviral and antibacterial.
And I'll throw one more into your black tea. If you want to do an anti-inflammatory properties, add some turmeric to the black tea because to the black pepper. The black pepper works with, I believe it's called curcumin, and actually kind of increases your absorption of the turmeric of the anti-inflammatory properties.
Yeah, perfect. I love it. And that's why, like in India, they're always drinking like chai tea. It's like there's black pepper, there's turmeric,
Yeah.
there's vanilla, there's all types of things in it. Okay. And then I guess the other tip would be if you're going to start a meditation practice, I highly recommend, and I have an exercise in chapter 1 where people write down and actually physically write down what their relationship is with stress as of today, because that looks different for all of us. Some of us bite our nails. Some people, obsess about their taxes or, look at the stock market 20 times a day. Some people get sick. Some people have IBS. Some people have like lack of sex drive. Some people are like porn crazy. I mean, like it looks any number of ways. And again, it's not even about judging it. This is not about guilt or shame. It's just about getting honest and documenting how stress is impacting your life right now, and then writing all of that down. How many times a year do you get sick? How many hours of sleep do you need at night? How do you feel when you wake up in the morning? And then what I like people to do is actually quantify what stress is costing them financially. So how much money are you spending in a year on therapy, sleeping pills, anti-anxiety pills, antidepressants, coffee, cigarettes, pot, retail therapy, like whatever you do to solve the symptoms of stress, like tally that up. And then ask yourself if it's worth, spending a couple hours of your life and a few $100 learning to meditate so that you have this skill to take with you for the rest of your life. And here's the Cliff's Notes is that the average American is spending $11,900 on the things that I just mentioned per year.
Wow. So going from there, Jessica, my wife and the producer, always wants me to ask, what advice would you give parents to help them? You started talking about this a little bit with the baby, parents to help them with stressing less and accomplishing more.
Yeah. So help. It's a team sport, at least for me. Like right now I have my husband and my mom and myself all with Jasper, my 9-month-old son. Now I get that not everyone has that luxury. Like God bless single parents. God bless people that don't have family around them. But it really I think the parenting is meant to be a team sport. And I think for anyone to try and do it alone, it's not impossible. It's just a massive, massive undertaking. And so utilize those naps. Those nap times are sacred. Don't be unrealistic about how much you can accomplish in one nap cycle. Like if baby's napping, if it's an hour, like what are your top 3 things that you need to do, and then do them. And that's hard sometimes when you're tired, because when you're sleep deprived, your like willpower goes out the door. It's not really willpower, but we get tangry, like tired. Like when people get hangry when we're tired, we also get like hungry and angry. So sometimes you just want to like eat and just like lay down and do nothing. But I would say, if you can meditate first before you take the shower, if you can meditate before you take the nap, if you can meditate before you clean your house, you're just going to make more usage of the time that you have.
Woohoo! What personally brings you the greatest happiness, or what I call the woohoo factor?
The sound of my son's laughter. It's happening right now next door, and it's just so intoxicating.
So cool. On that note, where can people go to find out more and to find your beautiful book?
Well, to find the book, it's sold basically anywhere books are sold. It's called Stress Less, Accomplish More. You can get it on Amazon, Barnes and Noble, Books a Million. And then for the information on our online or in-person courses, you can find those at Ziva. That's Ziva meditation.com. So zivameditation.com has all the information about everything else. And then we're all over social media, just at Ziva Meditation.
Fantastic. And if you didn't catch Ziva Meditation at Ziva meditation.com, come on over to inspirenationshow.com. We'll get you over to zivameditation.com. Before we dive into a brief meditation, Emily, this has been phenomenal. Any last words of wisdom you want to share with people today?
Yeah, that you can't pour from an empty cup. And so if you're a parent, if you have a job, if you have a partner, like we often think, well, I can't meditate because I have kids. I can't meditate because my job needs me or my partner needs me. But your kids don't want you stressed. Your coworkers don't want you stupid. Your partner does not want you slow. They want you happy. They want you present. They want you creative and energized. And so for you to take care of yourself is actually the greatest gift you could give to the people around you. And you do have time to meditate. I promise you. If Oprah has time to meditate, we have time to meditate. If Ray Dalio has time to meditate, we have time to meditate. It's just about finding a tool that gives you a return on investment and then making it non-negotiable.
Woohoo! Or would you have time for a brief meditation with us then?
Yeah, let's do it.
All right.
So what I'm going to do, let's see, what are we going to do? We'll do a little breath work into the manifesting exercise because the meditation just is a little bit more, it just requires a little bit more time. We can do some breath work, which is it's just a fast track way into de-exciting the nervous system. And then we'll do the manifesting exercise so we can all have a little fun and skip right to the dessert.
I like it. And if you're driving down the road, do this later.
Oh, yes. Do not do this while you're driving. Okay, so we will begin. And if people are listening driving, we'll just do something. It's simple but powerful. It's called the 2X breath.
Okay.
So we can simply, I recommend if you can sit with your back supported and your head free. So Tommy Bahama style. And we'll simply inhale through the nose for the count of 2. And then exhale through the mouth for the count of 4. Again, inhaling for 2. And exhaling for 4. And you can close your eyes if you have not already. Inhaling for 2. And exhaling for 4. And on this inhale, imagining this breath and energy just filling through the nose and then right into your belly. Like you're breathing and filling a bowl of air in your belly. And as you exhale through the mouth, just letting go of anything that is not serving you, letting your jaw soften, letting your brow soften. And you can start to take this in your own time. We're simply doubling the length of the exhale from the inhale. So in for 2 and out for 4, doing this in your own time. As you inhale, imagine this breath going right into your belly. And as you exhale, bringing your awareness inward, letting your brow, your jaw, your shoulders soften and drop. Feeling the chair or the couch supporting you. Feeling your clothes against your skin. Inhaling for 2 and exhaling for 4. When we double the length of our exhale, we strengthen and tone the vagal nerve. We strengthen that connection between the brain and body. So letting your breath elongate, letting your breathing slow. Tuning your senses inward. And from this space of groundedness, and starting to notice all the sounds around you, all the tactile sensations in your body, any colors in your mind's eye, the taste happening in your mouth, and any smells going on around you. In this space of groundedness, acceptance, we'll move into the manifesting exercise. And before we ask for more things, it's always great to give thanks for what we have. So I invite you to think of 3 things that you're most grateful for in your life right now. The fact that you have food to eat, a place to sleep, the sound of laughter. Just thinking of 3 things that bring a smile to your face and saying, thank you, thank you, thank you. Really good. And from this space of groundedness and gratitude, we can move into the manifesting. So I invite you to think of one dream, one desire, one thing that you would love to bring into the manifest. Doesn't matter how big or small, how near or far. And now, like you're a little kid playing pretend, I invite you to imagine this dream as if it's unfolding all around you. Where are you when this dream comes true? Who's with you? What does it look like? What does it sound like? And most importantly, what does it feel like? The moment that this dream comes true, what does that feel like in your heart, in your belly? You feel proud, excited, generous. Taking a big, delicious inhale, breathing that feeling into every single cell in your body, charging up your cells with the frequency of this feeling. And as you exhale, letting go of anything that is not serving this dream or you. And knowing that this dream or something better is already on the way to you, or you wouldn't even want it. So with that level of trust, with that level of confidence, inhaling that confidence into every single cell in your body. And again, exhaling, letting go of any fear, any doubt, anything that is not serving you or this dream. Starting to bring your awareness back into the room, back into the body. Starting to move your hands, your feet. Giving yourself a big high five for listening to this podcast, for doing this exercise, for believing in yourself and in your dreams, for being brave enough to believe that you deserve your desires. And in your own time, whenever you're ready, we can start to slowly, gently open the eyes.
Woohoo!
Woohoo! We did it! High five! So that's really the gig. As far as the manifesting is concerned, it's the real trick is just imagining the dream as if it's happening now. Where what a lot of us are doing is that we're accidentally worshiping the space between where we are and where we think we should be, which just creates more stress. And so instead, we want to utilize that sacred time at the end of meditation, which we didn't do a full meditation just now, but you could do that as you're falling asleep or after your meditation practice, just inserting your dreams there and imagining them like a little kid playing pretend.
I love it. I love it. I love it. Thank you so much, Emily. This has been phenomenal. It's been really, really fun. I love hearing your little boy in the background.
Yeah.
We're keeping that in.
Yeah, good. It's so intoxicating.
Awesome, awesome, awesome. Well, thank you so much for being here today.
It's my pleasure. Thank you for having me, and thanks to everybody for listening.
Woohoo! So for everyone out there, this is Michael Sandler saying, be well, have fun, get stressed less, accomplish more, and begin stressing less and refilling your cup today. And shine bright. Woohoo!
Yay!
Thank you so much, Emily.
My pleasure. That was so fun.
Yay, that was really fun.
Yeah, you're awesome. Thank you for your enthusiasm and generosity.
Well, it certainly goes both ways. Thanks so much for watching. If you enjoyed it, be sure to like below. Also, leave your comments. Have some real fun with it. Subscribe to our channel where you're going to get more great videos, more interviews coming up. And check out our website, inspirenationshow.com. That's where you'll find tips, blogs, information, videos you won't find anywhere else, and useful and helpful resources to really help you kickstart your life and to shine bright. Thanks so much again. Thank you for your support. Like, comment, subscribe. See the website. Thanks so much and have fun. Of course, shine bright. Woohoo!